Today we are going to start using 4 different properties of logs. So the first property is called the product property. So in the product property, when it's in condensed form, we have log base b of m times n. When we expand it out, we do still have log base b, but instead of multiplying, we have log base b of our m value plus log base b of our n value. So we're going to be working back and forth, but mainly we're going to be taking it from the right-hand side when we're adding and simplifying it down to a single expression and making it look like the left-hand side. So whenever we're adding on the right, we multiply over here on the left. The next property is the quotient property. The quotient property is very similar. This time we still have an m and an n, but this time they're being divided. So when our two values are being divided, what do? We subtract. So you can see over here log base b of m, this time it's subtraction, and log base b of n. Okay, so again, if on the right you're subtracting, when you condense it down, you'll be dividing. The next property is the power property. For the power property, if we have a log base b of our m value, and our m value is being raised to the x, what do? We take that x out in front and we multiply by it. So it becomes x times the log base b of m. And the last rule we will show you how to use basically on your calculator is the change of base formula. So we operate in a base 10 system. Lots of logs are non-base 10. So if we have log base b of m, what we do to solve this, let me switch colors there, is we can take log of whatever our m value is in a base 10 and divide it by log of b. And I will show you how to do that on your Desmos calculator. Okay, so for our first problems, it says to express as a single log and simplify if possible. So there are a few ways that we can do this, but we're going to be using the properties right now. So we have log base 2 of 4 plus log base 2 of 16. So which property are we using? We're adding right here. So we are going to simplify using the product property. So we were adding, so we're going to take our m and our n value, and instead we're going to multiply them. So let's make sure we can identify m and n. So our first m is 4, and our n value is 16. So we have this log base 2. So we condense it down. Log base 2 of our m value of 4 times our n value of 16. So now let's go ahead and simplify that. So 4 times 16 gives us 64. So we have log base 2 of 64. Now we have to figure out how many times do I have to multiply 2 by itself to get 64. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32, times 2 is 64. Did I miss something in there? Okay, so it's 6. So 2 to the 6th power gives us 64. Now for our next problem, we have log base 3 of 27 minus log base 3 of 3. So what do we have? Log base 3 on both of them. Okay, what operation are we doing? We're subtracting. So for subtracting, we're going to use the quotient. And we're going to take our m and n values, which happen to be 27 and 3, and we're going to divide those. So 27 divided by 3. So when we take 27 and divide it by 3, we get 9. So now we have log base 3 of 9. So 3 raised to what power gives us 9? Well, 3 times 3 is 9, so our answer is 2. For our next problem, we have log base 4 of 16 cubed. Okay, so for this one, we are doing the power property. So we're raising it to the third. So we could, of course, do 16 raised to the third and then figure it out from there, but it's much simpler to use that power property and bring that 3 out in front. So it's going to become 3 times the log base 4 of 16. Okay, so that 3 we're just going to pull down. And what is the log base 4 of 16? 4 raised to what power gives us 16? Well, 4 squared. So we just simplify that down to 2. And what is 3 times 2? 6. For example 4 here, we're doing two things. So we are adding and we are subtracting. So first, we see that we have log base b, log base b, log base b. So we can condense and combine them. What's happening? We have an x value that's being added to a y value. And from that, we are subtracting a z value. So what do we have to go ahead and do? The ones that are being added together, we multiply, and the one that's being subtracted, we divide by. So we just change it to log base b of our x times our y divided by z. And for our last example using these three properties, we have log base 5 of 5 plus log base 2 of, sorry, this got a little funky. This should be a 4 right here. That does not exist. So log base 5 of 5 plus log base 2 of 4 squared. So we're going to go ahead and do a few things here. So first of all, this first function, log base 5 of 5, means 5 raised to what power gives you 5? Well, that's just going to be the first. So we're just going to change that down to 1. Now log base 2 of 4 squared, we're going to go ahead and apply the power property. So we're going to take that 2 and we're going to bring it down in front. And then we're going to look at what we have here. We have the log base 2 of 4. So 2 raised to what power gives you 4? 2 squared. So I'm going to just change that to a 2. Now I'm just going to go through and simplify. So 1 plus 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. So 1 plus 4 gives us an answer of 5. Now for our next problems, we're going to go ahead and use a calculator. So we need to know how to plug this in on a calculator. So log base 4 of 39. So I'm going to go into Desmos. Okay, so if we go over here to the right on the bottom, we see this functions bar. So I'm not sure which one you'll be in, trig, stats, distribution, or miscellaneous. So we want to be in miscellaneous. If we look here on miscellaneous, we see that we have a log and a log with a little base a. So if we have a base, we need to use this one right here. So log base a. So you'll see your cursor is already down there in the base to start with. So that's what we're going to plug in. So it was log base 4, so we're going to plug in the 4. Now we use our arrow buttons to make sure we go into that parentheses. So log base 4 of 39. And we see we get 2.642711. So usually we want to make sure we put 3 to 4 after the decimal point. So we're going to go ahead and leave that as 2.6427. I'm going to go ahead while I'm here and plug in all of them so we don't have to go back and forth. So that second problem, or seventh problem, was log base 5 of 20. So go into my functions, log with a little base, base 5, arrow over, 20. So 1.86135, so we'd round that up to 1.8614. And then the problem 8 is log of 24. So this one doesn't have a base. So this time we can use just the log button. So just push the log button. Notice we don't go into the base, and we just have log of 24. And we see our answer is 1.3802. So that's where we got our answers here. 2.6427, 1.8614, and 1.3802. So make sure you take some time to know how to plug those into a calculator. Hopefully you're all using Desmos. Now for the last problems, 9, 10, and 11, we want to rewrite using the change of base formula and evaluate. So obviously we've just shown you on the calculator how you can plug this in. So you can do that, but there may be some situations where it just wants you to use change of base. So remember, for change of base, log base b of m, we just have log of m divided by log of b. So in this case, what do we have? We have the log base 6 of 20. Okay, so how do we write that? We write that as the log of 20 divided by the log of 6. So we'll go ahead and plug that in. And this would be a situation if you didn't have a calculator that allowed you to plug in the base, you would have to do this. So let's just do change base first, and then we'll plug them in all at once. So for number 10, we have the log base 14 of 100. So we take the log of 100 and we divide it by the log of 14. I used the wrong color over here. Now I got rid of both colors. Great. So log of 6 was on the bottom and log of 20 was on the top. And for problem 11, log base 2 of 15. So we take the log of 15 on top and we divide it by the log of 2 on the bottom. So let's go into Desmos and make sure we can do all that. We'll get rid of these. Okay, so for all these functions, remember we're just using a base of 10, so we just use that first log button here. So we're going to do the log of 20, arrow outside that parentheses, divided by the log of 6. And we get 1.67195, so we'd have to round that 9 up and that 2 up, so let's just leave it as 1.672. Our next one, we have the log of 100, arrow outside that parentheses, divided by the log of 14. And we have 1.745. And for our last problem, we have the log of 15, arrow outside, divided by the log of 2. And we're left with 3.9068, so let's go ahead and round that up to 3.907. And those are our answers that we have here. 1.672, 1.745, and 3.907. And that is all for today.